kind of what this is the stuff that you're going to be. Okay, so now we're live.
Yeah.
I'm going to
Thank you. Yeah. MTA trainings there too. And I thought it was supposed to be a target, but I think they felt Something like that. It's either that Vallarta or
Your mic is live.
Sorry. Sorry.
All right. Awesome. Here
We're talking about the Sata Le Chisme.
Oh, okay. Well, no somos chismosos, somos informativos. Does this mic carry or?
It should. Let me turn it on.
Cool, cool.
Yeah.
Hey guys, for everyone tuning in, I'm Nick Valencia. Let's bring this camera a little closer here. Welcome to the show. We'll get started here in just a little bit. We're live from the BLBD market in Montebello, where we are hosting our first live in-person event, thanks to Barney Santos. And we'll get the show started here in just a little bit. I'm gonna lose the jacket, man. It's hot.
It's hot, yeah.
Yeah, it's hot. Lose the coat. Can you hear us, Nat?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, cool.
See.
All right. Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. I'm Nick Valencia, host of Nick Valencia Live, NBN, and this is our first in-person show. For those of you guys who don't know me, I am from Northeast LA. I'm a child of Eagle Rock, and that's like the 90s Eagle Rock, not the whitewash hipster version of what we have out there right now. But I'm a graduate of the University of Successful Chicanos, just like Barney here, and I am one of the top new media platforms in the country, according to the Pew Research Center. And we focus our, thank you, Gustavo. We focus our platform primarily on what's happening here with the President Trump's mass deportation policy, something that Los Angeles knows all so well and all too well. A lot of people have looked at what's happened in Minneapolis and in Minnesota, places like Charlotte, and really have forgotten that the siege of America by ICE happened here in Los Angeles that first week of June. You might notice somebody here next to me. This is the proprietor, restaurateur, one of LA's finest. This is Barney Santos. Give it up for Barney.
Thank you so much for having me here, fellow Trojan in the house.
Yeah, fight on.
Today, fight on.
And I love that there's people actually here clapping, and then we get to engage and see people. Look, when I approached you about this, I said, I really think that the social currency of today is getting people shoulder to shoulder, face to face, so that we could just look at each other and have fellowship. What has it been like here being a business owner, a small business owner in Los Angeles during this unprecedented immigration crisis that we're going through?
You know, I will say last year was really difficult. I mean, you know, the impact in Los Angeles was tremendous. I mean, starting from June was like such a memorable month that I just will never forget because it was so difficult. Yeah. I mean, a lot of that stuff happened. There's like the trifecta that happened, right? It was like Pico Rivera, Montebello, Whittier, Downey, like Compton. I feel like there was all this area, the Southeast Los Angeles area in South Los Angeles, where I feel like every day was this new crazy thing that ICE was doing to terrorize our community. And it's crazy because my wife and I would drive by like the Walmart. I remember one day we're just kind of like, it's nuts. You see this in the news, right? Like happening, and then you're here and you see where it happened, and then you see the impact on people's faces. Like, you know, I think a lot of people who live in West LA or people in different states, you know, they intellectualize what's going on, but we got to see it face to face in the eyes of people who work at our place and other places, like staff, documented, or even documented people who were just like maybe DACA recipients or people with green cards. They were just living in this fear that was just debilitating everybody last year. It was nuts, like from June all the way to the end of the year.
Tell me what that was like, because something that you said is really powerful. I've been covering immigration for 20 years. Thank you so much. My family's here to give me bottles of water. The impact on people when you actually viscerally see an immigration agent masked up, todo boca cubierto, you know, in their tactical gear. It was shocking to me. Yeah. My stomach dropped in Minneapolis. It was the first time I was face to face with them in this modern era. What's it like, you know, for people who hadn't had that experience yet?
Yeah, I mean, it's nerve-wracking. I mean, that's the best way I can describe it, because, you know, it doesn't just impact you visually at first. Like the remnants of it last for weeks on end.
Psychological trauma.
It's in that the warfare was psychological last year. It was just nuts. It still carries on this year, right? Like for weeks after the first raise happened in June, like everybody was on edge. I mean, literally everybody was on edge. I was getting text messages every morning. My wife can attest to this. Like we were just, somebody spotted ICE agents like down the block. And we would just get in our cars and start patrolling up and down the block.
Because that's how we first met. You were one of these groups of, you know, a sort of unorganized group of community residents, activists who came together and said, this is not going to happen in my neighborhood. So tell me about that. Speak on it.
Yeah, so literally we would like the mayor, the council members would text each other, you know, community members would just like text me in the morning, we spotted somebody, so we start driving up. I mean, literally we would see, it was funny, we were getting people like texting, like people look suspicious, and we like, they would chase, we're like, don't chase people, because it ended up being just normal people, but they look out of place. Here at Boulevard, we would see like people that looked like they were from Texas, or like long beards, who would just sit in the corner and would, you know, like just stare at people. We wouldn't buy anything. We just looked menacing and just and we were looking at the cameras.
Turn off the music on the Feed the Ducks here. The music is at the bottom. No, it's okay. Hey, this is all a casual thing. It's better that we want audience to hear us at home. It's at the very, very bottom. It says Feed the Ducks. That's the music that's playing.
This is live.
Yeah, this is live. This is casual. The Substack audience, they understand. So just continue on that, because we've been about a year into this. You were a small business owner, a restaurateur. People, I remember a period of time in Los Angeles where you could hear the birds chirping. It was so quiet. People were so terrified of going outside. What's the reality right now on the ground?
You know, today it's not as prevalent in the psychological aspect. You know, last year, you know, as everybody knows, the restaurant industry, the summer months are just peak months. It's where everybody kind of like makes hits their nut for the year, right? For the most part. Our summer was horrible last year because it was in the middle of this nightmare that was happening. And so, you know, it lasted from June all the way to the end of the year. I mean, there's tons of statistics that came out. Like I think LA County's economic development, department, they did a study, showed that like, you know, it was like 84% of people felt like there was a negative impact in their business. I think half of businesses felt like there was literally an economic impact, right? Like they felt like their sales were down for like 60-70%. Some people were reporting, and consumers just changed their behavior. I mean, you got to imagine, right? Like, what is the economic buying power of like Latinos right now? Like it's like $4 trillion.
Yeah, I was going to say about 3.2 trillion is the last time I looked, but yeah, crazy, it might be upwards of 4.
I think in Los Angeles alone, it's like $250 billion alone. Like that's massive, right? Like billions. And so when you're talking about this class of people, was working class Americans who are afraid to go outside and spend money, right? Like literally they were saying that, like there's studies that show that, you know, the majority, it was like half of the people literally were saying, I'm afraid to go outside, specifically to restaurants and public spaces, because I'm afraid of being out and getting caught up with all that.
Yeah.
And people that were even documented, which is nuts. So it's a psychological game that negatively impacts small businesses.
I carry my birth certificate around, a copy of it now. I have been since June, and this is not to be dramatic or poetic at all. This is just the reality of what we're faced with. You know, it's nuestro color de piel. It's how we move. It's our communities that are being persecuted, and it's not just the ripple effects. The ripple effects are happening beyond the Latino community.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what I noticed when I was in Minneapolis. I went into the classroom of Liam Conejo Ramos. I was able to go get invited into the Valley View Elementary School, and his locker was empty, save a cobija and some of his stuffed animals. And the children that are going in, and they're his classmates, they see and they notice that his locker is empty, and then they go back to their parents and they ask what's going on. And so these are students that not all of them are Latino. You see teachers, most of them who are white, and you see the PTSD in their eyes. You see the trauma in their eyes. Can you speak on that and sort of, you know, because this is a melting pot, Los Angeles. Yes, we have, this is the nexus of Chicanismo, Latinidad, but we have so many allies here. Have you seen that example that I just gave in Minneapolis? Has that happened here?
You know, to be honest with you, like I'm mostly because
you're mostly with Latinos,
I'm, like in the Latino. You know what I mean? Like I'm embedded in this community, and so like my interaction has always been with like our people, and staring at them face to face and seeing the pain in their eyes. Right? Like literally, we have staff that was afraid to come in, so we would pay them like, "Don't worry, we'll pay you for the day. Don't come in because we don't want you to feel unsafe." We had some people that we knew that were business owners that were just like literally hiding in their house, like literally for weeks on end. They were getting DoorDash and Uber Eats delivered to their house because they just didn't want to go outside. And these are business owners. They actually pay taxes, like they pay federal taxes, state taxes, labor taxes. They employ people, and like they're hiding from the government.
What about the business owners that are conveniently apolitical when it comes to hiring undocumented labor? Or you have to think, that's my thing here, is that if it was really about law and order, then we'd see these businesses that employ undocumented labor, we'd see them suffer consequences as well, but somehow they never do. And what I'm seeing a lot more now is business owners who are potentially Republican, conservative, they have a lot of money. How are you seeing them react to this? Because they may support these policies.
You know, interestingly enough, I have friends that are like right wing or more on the conservative side. You know, these Latinos for Trump type individuals that, you know, I love them. But, you know, we all have a
crazy idea, right? Whatever.
And so,
or friend.
You know, I think a lot of them, you know, from what I've had conversations, not all of them, but some of them feel like they were duped, right? And so I think I think the ego won't allow them to admit like, oh man, like I messed up, I screwed up. But you can tell by the conversations that I've been having that some of them feel a little like, damn, I was really lied to. Like this wasn't what I expected. And you have a lot of business owners, like even I think reportedly recently it was like in Texas, like all these construction workers that somebody did a big report,
Texas.
right? Like they're like their businesses are dying, right? Because their workers can't get jobs and like they can't employ people, the jobs are going down. So it's like it's impacting everybody all around, regardless of your political status.
Es una persecución de nuestra mano de obra in the United States. This is our hey Mark, this is our labor force, this is our workforce, and it seems sort of counterintuitive for that to happen. And that's what I'm seeing. If I were to run for politics tomorrow, which I'm not, I'm grateful to be a journalist, but I would see what the public is resonating with most is that this isn't a left versus right or red versus blue. This is a top versus bottom. This is the widening gap between the haves and the have-nots. As a restaurateur in Los Angeles, I would love for you to speak on that.
Yeah, I mean, look, we serve everyone equally, right? Like we serve hungry people. And so at the end of the day, I've always felt like the left and the right narrative, that binary that everybody likes to play on, you know, it divides us. At the end of the day, we're all sort of like, we're talking about class issues, right? And I think that is the thing that unites most of us if we really discuss that and focus on that. Because our brothers and our sisters that are documented or undocumented, like they're feeling pain. And if you're a human with empathy, regardless of your political affiliation, you can see that and feel that also. So that's why I think this issue isn't just immigration policy related. This is a psychological one. This is a humane one. And when it boils down to it, like, you have to tap into that part of you that is human and like see that in other people and see the suffering. And ideally, you would imagine that people would see that and be like, damn, like maybe I need to reconsider. And that's my hope, at least. But some people are lost and, you know, like they're just gone. Like people that are MAGA, like down that road, they're constantly justifying the behavior. And I find it strange, honestly.
I think what I find the most strange, and I talk about this on the show a lot, is that I think that our country struggles from a disease of individualism, and that unless you're impacted by things as an individual, you likely don't care. And what's happening here in Trump 2.0 and this second term of President Trump is that more and more people are being impacted by this on the individual level. I mentioned this politics and the idea of not running left or right. It is very hard for somebody, i.e. President Trump, who ran on being not a politician. Now he's 10 years into being a politician, and we're seeing people peel off. In just the last few minutes, because we have a great lineup here to get to, do you think that there is hope for Democrats? Do you think, because they've shit the bed too, man. You know, they have not, they did not insulate our community or protect our community from what we're seeing right now. And then they sit on their hands and say, well, we don't have a majority, we can't really do anything about it, when we know that it would just make them uncomfortable to actually be in action and do things. Do you see any merit to the enthusiasm that the left or Democrats have in maybe changing the tide here in what we're seeing?
I've been seeing that more and more.
Yeah,
you know, I think I have more hope. I've been hopeful for the Democratic Party. I mean, sometimes I see things and I'm just like, oh God, right? They're slipping back into their old ways, because you would think that it's staring you in the face. Like, focus on the things that matter, pragmatic things, right? Like, what was Bill Clinton's slogan? It's the economy, done. Right? So like at the end of the day, people just want to live an affordable life. And it doesn't really matter if you're left or right. You want to be able to put your kids in childcare, make them go to good school. You want to own your own house. Like, that stuff is slipping away. I think recently I read a study that like American pride has slipped down 20 points, right? So people they're not prideful about being an American, for one. And then the same thing, like it was like 25 point slippage about people believing in the American dream. So if you don't think it's good to be American, and you don't even think there's hope to have an American dream, what does that mean for our future? First of all, at the low level, it means you're spending less too, right? Consumer confidence is a big thing. but then you're just also not participating in these restaurants and public space. And that means that you're extracting these people from the community. And that's a trust issue.
A disengaged electorate is really dangerous because we know that conservatives and old white people, they're always voting,
They're always
right?
voting,
They're
yeah.
always there at the ballot box. They're going to show up regardless. And if you create a disengaged electorate, if you start nationalizing our local news or conglomerization of only so many company owners of our media outlets, then all of a sudden you get national news. And as a local resident in that city, you feel like you can't do anything to make change.
Your voice doesn't matter.
Your voice doesn't matter. I'm going to give up. And meanwhile, they steamroll with their policies that they want to go through because they are on a mission.
But there's a rise, and you see candidates that like, right? So like you look at the extremes of what's going on, like with Mandami, right, in New York.
Yeah.
And you see people like that, and you're like, well, that's amazing. He's an advocate for the people. And I think the reason why people like that rise to fame is the same reason why Bernie rose to fame. People are just tired of like people lying to them. Politicians are lying all the time, and they're really just backing like corporate interests and these people that are really just taking care of them. And so when you see the emergence of this like politician or people that are younger and have a little more of a vibrant energy that are talking about like, no, forget about that stuff. Let's talk about working class Americans and getting back to the basics of what made this country great. Like people,
Yes.
like strong jobs, strong economies, strong education. Like it's not that difficult.
It's not.
If
No.
you just stop pulling people apart. And so, yeah.
We're going to get into the nitty gritty here with our next guest, Cynthia Santiago. But before we let you go, Barney, and if you're just joining us here on the live stream, I'm Nick Valencia, host of Nick Valencia Live, and we are reporting live here, streaming live across all social media platforms. Nick Valencia News' first in-person event here at the BLVD Market in Montebello. We're going to be here till a little after 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Just vibing out. This is Barney Santos, the owner and proprietor, a restaurateur in LA. Thank you so much, Barney, for anything I haven't asked you that you think is important to know or anything that you'd like to speak on. Now's your chance.
We're open 6 days a week, Tuesday to Sunday. If you want to come to Boulevard Market, we are a community hub. We care. That is our number one value system, community first. If you want to be a part of the community, you want to eat some good food, you want to vibe out, please
Get the margarita.
roll down and get the margarita.
I
Thank
get
you,
the
Gustavo.
margarita. That's Gustavo. Awesome, bro. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. That's
And
Barney
fight on.
Santos. Fight on, brother. Fight, University of Successful Chicanos. I paid my own way through school. We are going to go to our next guest now. Our next guest here is somebody that has been all over the broadcast. Are we good? Yeah, okay. Has been over our local news stations, has been all over likely your social media if you're in Los Angeles, and it's Cynthia Santiago. Thank you so much, Cynthia. Yeah. Cynthia Santiago, for those of you guys who don't know, is a very involved immigration attorney here. She has represented a lot of community organizers, people who have been directly impacted by what is going on in President Trump's mass deportation policy. Thank you so much for joining us here. I really appreciate it.
I've represented also a lot of undocumented folks that we've gotten out of Adelanto and other detention centers.
And I want to start there since you brought up the detention centers, because it is so evident to me that I think sometimes the language is too strong to call them concentration camps. I understand why people do. What have you heard some of these primary stories from people that you represent in there and just how terrible it is?
The conditions in Adelanto, for example, water that is either very scathing hot when it comes to their bodies, when they're taking a shower, water they're unable to drink. There's conditions of a lot of people, mass amount of people getting sick. And sadly, a lot of people make multiple requests for attention from the medical department, which we also have learned that they've cut off a lot of contracts with the different medical contractors that they had. And they're basically operating a prison with thousands of people with the scale of like a school nurse. They don't
Wow.
have enough medical teams to address these issues. And so after multiple requests, people are collapsing. They'll call the ambulance. I've been there multiple occasions where ambulance is outside treating somebody. And then unfortunately in Adelanto, there's also this agreement that they have with the local hospital. So they will literally take a person from the detention center, black them out of their list, saying that they can't tell family or their attorney where they've taken them. They take them to this local hospital, have them shackled to a hospital bed by their hand and their legs. And, they have this whole unit for folks that are detained in there. So the conditions are just horrible. They know that they're leading to a mass amount of people dying, and this is where we're at.
And I know there's some people that listen to that and they celebrate and they say, well, look, hey, if they didn't want to be treated like that, they shouldn't have come here illegally, right? I know that there's some people, as much as I hear that, and people here hear that, and they say, where's the humanity? Where's your morality? People support that. And I often hit them at a place that they understand, and that's waste. Where are all the don't tread on me folks? Where are all the government waste folks? Where are all the people who are upset about wasted taxpayer money like it costs $27,000 to $35,000 every month is what these private prison companies get, like Geo Group and Core Civic. That's $900 to $1,100 per bed per person to keep them in these beds. That's incentivizing them to keep them in these beds. That's so much government waste. Do you think that that resonates with people?
I just think that people don't see these numbers in their faces enough, like you were saying, that if it doesn't impact them, but what we see is a lot of contracts. We see the contracts for commissary. We see the contracts for
Right.
the phones. We see so many contracts within the system that you see why there's an incentive. They're private prison profits.
Cruelty is the point.
Yeah, and so I think that the reality is that I think the more amount of these warehouses that we're seeing and that the community is coming out to protest them and to shut them down, I think we're going to get to the point where they're going to have to do away with the system.
Well, they're also paying for these properties $100 million more than they're appraised for. I was just in Social Circle, Georgia, where in 2 years, a property value rose $100 million. No, the fuck it didn't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if there's kids in the crowd here. No way it didn't. And that should piss off people that, okay, the government is buying these warehouses for tens of millions of dollars over what they're being appraised for. Where is that money going? More specifically, you represent somebody that died in custody. Can you tell us about the story and the circumstances?
I can't give too many details about that, but there was multiple requests for medical attention that were ignored, and they just got to the point where this person was taken to the hospital and died shortly after. And what is happening with Adelanto, for example, is for months we've been making this alarm cry for help because of the conditions. We also mentioned that not only is the water horrible, but the inside conditions are just really dangerous for individuals that are housed together for so many hours. They only get 1 hour to go outside to get sunlight and to get any kind of fresh air.
How have you seen your clients, their psychological well-being change? Because that is a lot to just deal with, right? Yeah.
So what happens with a lot of the individuals that are detained is that they don't have criminal history. They've never been in a prison, in a jail. They've never been in this type of incarceration setting. And these individuals have no history of that. Unfortunately, their crime is that they came to a country without permission.
Well, this part is they are pre-trial detainees that have not yet been adjudicated. They've not gone before a judge and they're being treated like the worst of the worst criminals when they haven't. Speak on that.
No, and so when we look at the majority of individuals that have been in the country for years, 10, 20 years, children raised here, no criminal history, the judges will then make up an offense of, oh, well, they worked without permission, or they worked with a social number that wasn't theirs. And so we end up in a position where individuals that have never been in the criminal system are now subjected to constant surveillance, being changed from having a identity, a name, to being a number or a housing area. So a lot of them, after months of detention, a lot of individuals start to have this routine of like having to wake up and having to have your things looked over, and then having to be called by your bed space, your number, and being reprimanded if you didn't hear the call the first time. And it's a lot of psychological torture in there.
What I worry about is this expansion. You talk about these dozens of warehouses that are being built or bid on. I think it's just the common sense, and it was strained common sense to think that they're going to stop at the undocumented. You don't think that they're going to go towards the undesirable American next based off how much money I said is being lost if you don't have those beds filled? And we're seeing that. We're seeing this wide net being cast that it's impacting not just undocumented immigrants. There was a point where our former DHS secretary said every single one of us is going to have to prepare to prove that we're an American citizen. Do you think people are really okay with that?
Yeah, no, I mean, we're in a dangerous position because even legal permanent residents they've always been at, in a position where they can get their green card revoked, but it was a policy that wasn't really looked at for many years. And so now that's a big headline is
Yeah.
people coming back to the US and then they're green card holders for 20 years and now they're being placed into a removal proceeding and being incarcerated. But the same thing is going to happen with naturalized citizens, individuals that obtain their citizenship and maybe made a mistake or said something incorrectly in their applications. They can go back to that and try to denaturalize them. So we are in a very dangerous position. We've had a number of citizens arrested as well. And my whole take though is that I don't walk around with a birth certificate or a passport. I need them to prove why they're detaining me because we still have a constitution that still lives.
That part.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen. What's the advice that yeah, I'll clap for that. Hell yeah. What advice would you give to somebody who's watching this, who may be in the crowd? I mean, there's so many people here who have been impacted directly by it, and maybe not yet, but they anticipate that they will. What do you tell people who are coming to you for guidance?
I just really urge the community that does have the privilege and the status to join a local response network. It doesn't have to be patrolling. You could literally just go and drop off food for a family that's been impacted. You can be an advocate for putting money on a commissary account. You can be a person that drives a family up to see their loved one.
Yeah.
We have just so many. I shout out to Liz who's here from San Bernardo. And so I've been working on the ground with a lot of folks that will take different roles in our community because this is what it's about. It's about
Yeah.
community coming together and fighting for those that right now are in a vulnerable position. And I would say that it's just important to be helpful to those that are going through this process. A lot of people don't understand that once a person is bonded out or released, that person cannot work until they have a work permit. If they work without a work permit, they're going to get violated and put back into the detention center. A lot of these bonds are from the amount of $10,000 to $25,000. They used to be between $1,500 to $7,000, and now they're exploded in this, seas of the government just trying to make more money.
It's just inflation, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And then just having a loved one come back into the community. Unfortunately, also those that are still detained, there's this great increase of amount of people that sign a voluntary deportation because they just have no one to assist them in the process.
Great. Talk to us about the groups, the community organizations that you work with, VC Defensa, Siempre Unidos. There are people out there that want to be a part of recording, what's going on, the activity. I know that it seems as though nationally these sort of incidents have died down a little bit. Tom Homan has taken over. There's been less of an aggressive posturing, it seems, by these agents. Or has there been?
No, they're doing it behind closed doors.
They're just doing it
Yeah.
behind closed doors.
Yeah.
It is not the reality of what we see.
The detention centers are still at capacity. They're still trying to fill California City, which was a prior California prison that shut down and then was bought by a private prison, Core Civic. And so they're still trying to fill them up, and they're still trying to fill them up and do that express where people get deported, they fill it the next bed space. But what happens is right now we're seeing the trend of picking up people at a courthouse, at criminal courthouse.
We saw a lot of that at 26 Federal Plaza in New York, where people were just literally being taken from their court cases.
Yes, I was out there a couple of times, and it's a very emotionally heavy place to be. We literally had to sandwich a woman who was there by herself, pro se, representing herself because her attorney did not show up to the hearing, and we just guided her through how to get through that hearing. But sandwiching her through a crowd of mass individuals is the scariest thing I've ever probably gone through. And so just because we didn't know if she was going to be on their list to be taken and snatched away and what would happen, but thankfully she made it out, and a number of other folks did that day. But what we're seeing is ISAP, a lot of individuals that previously are waiting for their next court date, filing the papers like they should be, and following the court process, and they're taken from those appointments, and they're taken in a way where they're given some fake violation. You violated your terms of your ISAP, and then they're just
They're criminals now. Talk to me about.
And kids getting sent to Delhi with their families.
Oh, I mean, we haven't gotten to the kids yet. I mean, I think protecting the most vulnerable starts at the kids, and there's a reason why the Trump administration is going after kids. There's a visceral impact. I want us to talk about this whole idea that just why don't we just do it the right way? Why don't you just do it the right way? You hear that all the time, and you're smirking because you know. I mean, I'll tell you an anecdote and a story of somebody right now currently in the Baker Correctional Center in Florida, right? Their clips just went viral. They're getting torn up underwear, soiled underwear. They're brushing their teeth with their fingers. She came into the country under a policy that was alive during the Biden administration, that the Trump administration does not acknowledge. Therefore, her humanitarian visa is null and void, even though she did it the right way. And right now, she's currently in custody, and her husband, they've been married less than a year. This is the best part of marriage, the honeymoon. They should be celebrating this. And instead, he's planning on deporting with her or leaving with her as she deports. There are people in custody that I know that have asked for voluntary deportation. They don't get out because people continue the clock. The meter keeps running. Tell me about anecdotes or stories and why doing it the right way isn't just so simple and easy.
Yeah, I will give you this one about the visa bulletin. So in order for someone to legalize their loved one, for example, I'm a U.S. citizen and my brother was born in Mexico and I want him to legalize his status, the wait time for a Mexican petition is about 27 years. 27 years to be.
Did you guys know that?
Called.
I didn't know that. I thought 10 years was a long time.
No, so there's, or we can even make this even more like a U.S. citizen is married to someone who doesn't have status. If that person came in on a visa, usually the processing time is 9 months and they get their papers in 9 months. But if the person did not come in with a visa, because visas are very hard to be obtained in the embassies abroad, you have to show a lot of things to get that. But the problem is that once a person comes in, then they're subjected to a petition, a waiver, and then going back to their home country. That's a 6-year process. So our immigration system has not been worked on for 25 plus years.
Meanwhile,
this is why we have this problem.
Meanwhile, they can come here and there's 6 years that they wait. They get a tax ID and they can pay taxes, and the company can get cheap ass labor on an e-verify process that we know doesn't work, and those companies never suffer the consequences because they say, we didn't know the paperwork, we had that, they gave us the wrong, and they blame the immigrant. Or they blame the individual who is literally contributing. I interviewed somebody in Utah, in Salt Lake City. She paid $50,000 in taxes last year. I went there to go interview her because first they took her son. When they took her son, they said, we're going to take your dad. Then they took the dad. And when they took the dad, they said to the mom, we know you're hiding and you're next. And they kept their promise. We interviewed her in a park in hiding. She was eventually taken, and her question to me is, why doesn't this country want my money?
This country doesn't want brown people.
That's what it seems like.
People of color, people of a certain shade, people from south of the border, people. It's a very disturbing process because we don't have to prove why we should be like. We don't have to prove all the money we support. We don't have to prove why our children, we don't have to prove those things. It's the Democrats and the Republicans that need to be working on legislation. They need to be in the position where they actually care about immigration first. Yeah. But what happened with this administration is that they took advantage of all those years of failing to address immigration as the top issue. And they made it the top issue, but to the whole other extreme of just ripping apart families.
I think to this point, if it was about just correcting this pendulum swing, why don't we just go after the people that Biden let in? Why are we going after the people that have been in this country for 30 years, who have raised people going to college, who have put people through school, who are adding value to this country? If we're so efficient at our job under this president, why aren't we just going after the people that Biden let in? I don't agree with that, but that's my pushback to that argument. I really think that, for me, part of what has been the success in this independent space is that no one has to guess where I stand on undocumented immigrants. That doesn't mean that I toss aside the ethics of journalism, but I really believe that our conversation on undocumented immigrants in this country should start at amnesty. And the reason that we don't is because you have a lot of Republican lawmakers who could point to state house elections in Arizona and in Texas and say, because of the amnesty that Reagan gave 30 years ago, those state houses, those congressional seats, they flipped. And so they will never endorse amnesty. They will never endorse it. It seems like they will lose their boogeyman because all of a sudden, all these people that they've convinced that the undocumented immigrant is after your job. I mean, it's morsels of truth that this administration globs onto and convinces people.
Oh, yeah, it's propaganda. Yeah. It's propaganda.
We're fighting a propaganda war.
We're fighting a war. Interestingly, I went to high school with Stephen Miller, and so
you buried the lead. What?
And so,
wait, what?
So this is part of a tactic that's used. He did this in high school.
Did you go to Santa Monica High School?
He went to Santa Monica High School. I was the first Latina president there.
Oh my God! All right.
In their history. So what happens is that you have individuals that should not be in the positions they're in because they have not earned those positions. They have not gained the skill level to be in those positions. They're in those positions because they talk a good one, but in his position, he basically would find one little morsel of information and just exploit it. And that's what is happening. We're getting these bits and pieces of the immigration, throwing it out in public, using so much money to put this propaganda out there. And then, you have folks that have never really confronted this situation now taking a side. And unfortunately, it's impacting a lot of families that we see day to day, that we work with day to day.
It's so evident to me that the blueprint and the framework of what we're seeing now is exactly what we saw in the 90s with Prop 187. Do you guys remember Prop 187? You remember? Do you remember the walkouts? You remember what they were trying to do here, with Governor Pete Wilson? It seems like that's just the blueprint that Stephen Miller is applying to the White House.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Do you have any other stories? I mean, I'm fascinated by this. You just dropped this nugget as we're wrapping up the interview here and getting on to Gustavo.
I was involved in MECHA. I was involved in.
Oh, I'm sure he loved you then, huh?
Organizations. And so I would bring wonderful Chicano activists on campus, African-American political leaders. And so we were a campus that celebrated diversity. And it was just something that he hated. He hated, and he would try to insert different conservative voices into our campus, but he got booed off of stage, so that how our community felt about these kinds of things.
I feel like a guy like that, though, just loves the attention, and so even if somebody's booing him, they're booing him, right? And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Thank you so much.
He didn't get his heart broken or whatever the other, myths are that he had.
That's the narrative.
Bullied or something. Yeah, no, that's not true. It's he had very much read a lot of racist material, and then he used this information and forced his way to get into the White House, where again he did not have the qualifications to be so close to the administration. But that's what happens. We have a lot of pretenders in the administration.
I call President Trump the WWE president, WWF president, because he's very good. I think he's more well suited to run the media companies than anyone that's running them right now. And I see him a masterful manipulator of the media, and he is not dumb. He is cunning. He dismantled 16 very qualified Republican presidential candidates back in 2016, and no one took him seriously. And now you see what the result is. It is a propaganda war.
Yeah, I'm also deeply disturbed at how many months it took our folks in Congress to realize that funding an agency to inflict terror in our communities was probably a bad idea, giving them a big blank paycheck for that.
They have more money than some of our branches of military.
Yeah, so this is what we're seeing, and I think that I'm also very proud to have walked these streets and to have driven these streets and to have gone to detention centers with so many individuals that have stepped up. And I had nothing to do with immigration law before this, but I've been doing it for 13 years, and it's great to have allies.
I'm going to give Cynthia her flowers because she saw the promo flyer and she says, where the hell are the women here, okay? The women have been on the front lines of this movement since the very beginning, and God bless the women of Los Angeles and all across the country here who have literally taken the fight to fascism's front door. And I used to think that word was too strong, but it's not for what we have seen transpire over the course of the last year. In this last few seconds that I have you here, is there anything I haven't asked you that you think is important to know, or anything that you'd like to talk about? Now's your chance.
No, I mean, I talk about so many things that I'm seeing in our communities. I mean, ICE out of the hospitals, you're gonna have Alex join, right? ICE out of the hospitals, and just and making sure that our community knows that we continue to have rights and we continue to have a constitution.
How can we keep up with you? How can we follow you? For those that want to keep up with Cynthia Santiago, those that are watching, give yourself a plug here.
Santiago. I've been an immigration attorney for 13 years, but I love more of the position to be a community activist, community member. That
a chingona.
I mean, that's always been my dream as a child. When my brother was incarcerated, and seeing the injustices, that I always wanted to be immersed in community and take the work and the knowledge to the community, because our community is still so disenfranchised from knowing their legal rights.
Well, thank you. We're better. We are well aware of our rights, better. We're more aware of our rights because of you, Cynthia. Cynthia Santiago, give it up for Cynthia Santiago. Thank you so much. Thank you. Can I give you a hug? Thank you so much. With my jacket on, starting to get chilly. Stick around here. We've got another guest coming up. Our next guest is Gustavo Arellano. Oh, great. Oh, hey, Alexis. Oh, I saw Lalo show up. Yeah. Awesome. Barney, you still have a mic on. I hope you haven't been talking and people can hear you.
Oh, you don't want to do that.
Yeah. Or if you want to get handed over here, Barney was the first up. And if those of you guys are just joining us here, we're live from the BLVD Market, Boulevard Market here in Montebello, where we are live streaming our show, Nick Valencia News, in person, our first in-person event. And it's awesome if we could turn the camera around. I mean, just what a wonderful crowd that showed up here in person. Gustavo he needs no introduction here. You guys see him all over. What are you talking about? No one reads LA. We know the columns have gotten bigger in the paper.
Hating LA Times is the easiest game in town, so hate away. You are the star. Round of applause.
Yeah.
No, seriously. No one makes noise for you. That's really sad. I'm the loudest person here. You folks would be louder for this guy right here. In serio. No, he's doing amazing work. If you're not following him already, you're going down to South Texas. You're coming here to LA. You're going to Minneapolis. You're going to where the action is. And that's wonderful, because sadly, one of the reasons why the mainstream media has become as irrelevant as it is because they're not going there. They're not doing those things. And frankly, they're not calling it how it is.
I think people want to see how it is on the ground. They want to be taken there. And this is like a revolutionary perspective, right? The selfie.
Yeah.
And it's honestly, I mean, we really had such a moment in Minneapolis because of how nimble independent media is.
The activists were trying to beat up ICE?
Oh, yes. That's why I was mislabeled. Thank you for reminding me. No, what Gustavo was talking about, the AP took a photo of me, and then that was used and put on everywhere.
Literally like this, filming as it's going on, and they mislabeled him as like Antifa,
a domestic terrorist.
Antifa.
That's it. The headline was "War on ICE," and it was my photo. If we're being accurate here, you know, I mean, so let's talk about that. Part of the struggle of independent media is getting taken seriously.
Yeah.
Some people that are independent journalists, they don't want to take the ethics seriously, right? And they're throwing shit at cops in between their live shots. That, if I'm being rigorously honest, makes the job for someone like me who's really trying a lot more difficult, you know? I see the algorithms, which are my publishers now, they incentivize conflict. Mm-hmm. Like, you are online, you see it from this perspective of still being in a legacy newsroom. What's the reality of how you guys look at us now?
At just the independent folks?
Yeah.
Look, you folks are doing amazing work. You, again, I'm seriously, from the ground, flying around the country. I love I think it was post yesterday. Hey, by the way, ICE is my airport. Like, just happy with his big, huge smile going, here's tyranny, and I have to catch my 5 a.m. flight back to home. And like, just, so you're showing that stuff. And people, what I've seen always, it's not just the legacy media, it's just not now. It's always been the case that people want to see what's going on. They want on the ground reporting. They want to see themselves being reported on as voices, as sources, as activists, as all of that. And the problem with cloud chasers, look, you're going to get all this conflict and doing, we're seeing that. What I'm not even going to name the name because I don't know his name, but the guy who's going around like, I'm exposing corruption.
Nick Shirley.
You said it, not me.
Yeah.
I'm exposing corruption that's never been exposed before. If there wasn't corruption going on and was never exposed before, then why was the Minnesota state government prosecuting all those folks? Now he's here in California doing stories that the LA Times did 4 or 5 years ago. They will have their moment and they will collapse, but I always, still to this day, you could call me foolish, but quality work stays. You know this,
Yeah.
having been a reporter as long as you have, like stories, people come up to you and say, you did a story 15 years ago.
El Chapo.
Yeah, well, not a Chapo, other more substantial stuff, but people remember that, and that just shows that you're doing the work that needs to be done. And now you are your own boss. That's an amazing thing. That's also a terrifying thing, but it's your thing, and you're able to do it. Nice stuff.
Do you worry about the public and, Nick Shirley, for a lot of people, they feel like they're finding out and that he's putting them on and that he is really exposing and bringing this corruption to light. I feel like we are so microwave minds, man. It's like it used to be 7 minutes, our attention spans with commercials we wait. Now it's like I've got 3 seconds to capture their attention online these days.
Did you know that Thomas Alva Edison is Mexican? That's what my sisters showed me, and I'm calling you out, Nini, on Instagram. This is an urban legend that mi tío Ezequiel told me 30 years ago, but because they know nothing about history, they're not paying attention. You show something, you repackage it in a way that's appealing, and all of a sudden for them, it's news. And yeah, but again, this is not brand new. This fake news, this, if it bleeds, it leads.
Yeah.
That is the human condition. That's the American condition, really. And so the challenge then is, what are going to be the stories that matter, that are going, again, that resonate? And you're doing them. And I'm not trying to butter you up just because you're cool and all that. No, seriously. No, look, we text all the time.
Yeah.
If I think he did something like, whatever, I'll let him know.
True.
It's absolutely true. Even right now, when he started, he was talking like this. I'm like that. And now he's that. You gotta check out this guy. But no, quality leads. It will resonate. You want to be remembered years after the fact, not forgotten like that.
Do you worry that right now, because a lot of people, they don't think we're making a difference right now because nothing is changing. You still see people getting beat up. I was just corrected here by Cynthia. There's not as many videos, but it's still happening. The detention centers are still full. Do you worry that people won't care anymore, that they'll just give up? Or what do you see?
Things have changed. Today, this is the week that Gregory Bovino, wannabe patent, migra, I'm not going to cuss because there's children here, but he basically was forced out because he was rampaging across the United States. And he started, as you mentioned at the very beginning, in Los Angeles with the siege of MacArthur Park.
Yep.
And this is what I keep telling people about the Trump administration, that they really thought, going back to Stephen Miller, they were going to come in with a blitzkrieg. They were going to shock us all into submission, into fear, and we we're going to start ratting out our undocumented neighbors, our undocumented friends, our undocumented anyone. But no, and you saw this starting in Los Angeles after Trump got elected. Start and plan these, community groups, rapid response networks, whatever.
Barney was talking about them here.
Exactly. Barney was talking about here in Montebello, in Orange County, where I'm from, everywhere. And we set a template for the rest of the country, and everything starts changing. That's why the Trump administration is flat out telling their Republican lackeys, don't say mass deportation anymore because people don't like that. Don't be so crazy. It's continuing. I'm not saying it has slowed down at all. That's the thing. Activists know it has not slowed down at all. But it's those perceptions. Things are changing.
So when they start to control the narrative like that, we know that it's just months around the corner from an election, right? It's like, hey, let's quiet down about what we're doing so that doesn't hurt us. Do you see, there was a tremendous amount of enthusiasm for a statewide election of the public energy commissioner in Georgia because it was the first time that we got to see how Georgians were going to react to Trump. Do you see that happening here at all, this sort of resonating against Trump, people dipping off, peeling off, or is that...
Well, politics in California are completely screwed over. Of course, we have, 8 Democrats cannibalizing each other, and 2 Republicans who one of them, by the way, Sheriff Chad Bianco of Riverside County, who just seized 650,000 ballots just so he can. Yeah, it's absolutely happening. And there's a fear that they might go into the general election because it's a top two primary here in California. And that just shows how stupid or weak sauce, I don't use that word anymore, stupid, how weak sauce the Democratic Party leadership is. The fact that the top 5 candidates are white, and nothing against Gabachos, but are white in a state where the plurality of the population is Latino, and they don't want to answer to that. And so, you can call me a cynic or you can call me crazy, but I want to see the Democrats suffer, the Democratic Party suffer here in California, because they deserve it. And people despise Trump, but you talked about earlier, and Barney was talking about earlier, it's not a Democrat thing either. The Democratic Party is not very popular right now.
No,
Look
not at
in
all.
Los Angeles with Karen Bass, I do think Karen has gotten a far worse rap than she deserves.
Well, you don't just hear it with Karen Bass, you hear it with Newsom as well, who's seen by some Democrats on the East Coast as, this is going to be the savior here coming. But
Newsom.
give me the reality here in California.
Newsom is his own worst enemy, and I'll say this about him: he always somehow lifts himself up from shooting himself in the foot. But at some point, he's gonna shoot off his knee, y ya no va a poder caminar. Seriously, he thinks he is like freaking Jesus with a pomade or something. He goes around and just like all of that stuff. It's like, I don't know. And this is what he doesn't understand. And this more coming from Georgia. The rest of the country loathes California.
Yeah.
We're no
Really?
longer the California dream. People absolutely loathe us. They hate us because they ain't us.
That's it.
Up.
That's it. West Coast is the best coast.
West Coast, best coast, and a crime.
I want to just, land the plane here on the Newsom conversation, because he was trying to emerge as this sort of anti-Trump, like, let me use this tactics that he's using. Oh, you have a problem with me doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did that land with people here?
I do think people need to be inspired. Those people do need to laugh, but more than anything, people need inspiration. And the problem with the Democratic Party for way too long is just like, oh, we hate Trump. You need more than just we hate Trump.
Yeah, what's the plan afterwards? People want to know what happens next, right?
What
You want to know what's the next thing, right?
What is your economic plan? How are you going to plan for the day after Trump? And just say, and we talked about 187, and this is what I've been covering way too long for way too long. The Democratic Party here in California, they got big because of Prop 187. They basically told my generation of Latinos, you and your parents deserve to be kicked out of this country. All of us said, screw you, we're all going Democrat. Reagan gave us the amnesty, but now we're going Democrat. For 25 years, that's why California is super blue as it is. But then what do they do once they're in power? All they do, it's Trump. 187. 187. And look, you started getting all these Latinos starting to get interested in what Trump had to say. And I've been covering this since 2016. When I saw Trump, you said he's cunning. I saw him and I thought, if Cholos could vote, they would vote for Trump.
My gangster friends love him because he never gets in trouble.
He
never gets in trouble for what he does, and they love that about him.
He gets troubles, gangsters get lonely too. But more and more, that's just started going more and more and more and more. And then finally, what happens in 2024? Trump wins the male Latino vote. Trump wins the most Latinos ever in a presidential election for a Republican candidate. Here in California, you see the Latino state legislature or the state legislature go. Or we have to go like.
Yeah, we got to go a little tighter here. Thanks, Nat.
Like this. Mira. Te voy a decir unas cosas aquí.
No somos chismosos, somos informativos, así.
And so, you went. The state legislature went from 4 Latino Republicans to 9. From Northern California out to the Coachella Valley, Orange County, Santa Clarita, all of that. And people want to dismiss them as vendidos. No, they are part of our community. They want to dismiss us as crazy cousins. I don't know. When you hear them saying, I'm paying too much in taxes, California wants to ban the combustible engine, which is true. California wants to ban chroming, which is already going to happen. All these things that fall on the working class, which nowadays happens to be Latino in California. Yeah, you're going to have people. You're going to have people want to pay attention to the Republican Party. Then I'll cut this. I know I've been going for a little bit. Trump had these voters. He could have built a Latino Republican Party that would have lasted a generation.
Wow.
And what does he do? He listens to Stephen Miller. And Stephen Miller just evil, absolutely evil. And now here we are today. Latino support has completely plummeted. They're freaked out about Latinos. We've seen them in Texas, in Virginia, all more closer to you. la regaron. They messed it up.
I'm on my way to South Texas in a couple of days to go interview Bobby Polito.
Yeah.
And if you guys don't know what's going on in South Texas, the Democrats see this potentially as a microcosm for what's going on. You're seeing a lot of that Rio Grande Valley. It's not going to happen. I don't believe it's going to happen either. In the Rio Grande Valley, there are a lot of conservative Latinos. They see Bobby Polito, this Tejano star, with Desvelado running through the quinceañeras in the 90s, and they say, okay, here's a guy, he may live in Mexico the majority of the time, but he doesn't have health care because it's too expensive. And he reminds me of me because he's not a politician, and he wears a cowboy hat like me, and, oh, remember Desvelado? And so that's the message that I'm getting from Trump voters.
And now the Republicans are messing it up because is the incumbent Monica Garcia? Is that
Well, it was a redistrict.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a new, but Monica de la Cruz is the Republican. Yes, basically, it's a conservative area. It's hers, they thought, to lose.
Yeah, and so she tries to make fun of Bobby, saying like he should stick to
Quinceañeras.
Quinceañeras. Like if that's somehow an insult. So what does Bobby do? Yeah, who wants me to go to their quinceañera? Let's talk. And thousands of responses. So that's a party that's running scared, and that's why Trump is flailing by sadly flinging bombs at Iran and invading Venezuela and doing all that other stuff.
We talked, the last time we talked, we had just gone into Venezuela. We don't hear about what's going on in Venezuela right now. Have you heard any updates or anything since your column that you wrote about Marco Rubio? Basically, this was his dream, right?
No, I called him the biggest sellout of Latinos ever. That's what I called him. And he is. No, look, because they are trying to make Venezuela into a vassal state of oil. And Delcy Rodriguez, she's the one in charge right now. I do not know too much about her, but it seems like she's the type of person that she just wants to stay in power for her own sake instead of actually caring about her people. Venezuela's first, next is Cuba, next is Mexico. You don't think he wants to come in and just extract as much? He wants to be the new Porfirio Diaz. That's what he wants. Just open it up to Americans and yeah.
It's American exceptionalism. That's the narrative that they're pushing. And right now in the Texas State Board of Education, they have been infiltrated by not only MAGA, but the Moms of Liberty. Why do I bring up Texas? Because your textbooks relate to Texas. It is the biggest public education in the country. So once they order their books from McGraw-Hill or their textbooks, then we get them. The rest of the country gets them. And so if they're creating this curriculum of American exceptionalism, what are the Chicano students here in LAUSD going to start reading about? What is happening in Texas with the Moms of Liberty going into, they had testimony at the state capitol a couple of months ago. The representative on the state board at Texas, he is a MAGA, full blown. A woman from educator in a hijab got up there at the state capitol, and before she opened her mouth, he said, Mr. Chairman, what is our rules of terrorists testifying before here in the state capitol? Governor Abbott, Texas Governor Greg Abbott, had
Married to a Latina.
Had labeled a teachers group that she was with a terrorist organization. It was not given an official designation by the government or even the state. It was just something that he said. But that representative on the Texas State Board went with it and ran with it. And that's what's happening slowly all across the country.
Just really quick anecdote about how Texas indoctrinates our children in California. When I was young, and look, I'm a nerd. I know a lot of stuff. But why was it when I was about 8 or 9 years old, I knew that the first Texas state capitol was in Washington on the Brazos? Because I don't know. I was not reading anything about Texas. I didn't care about Texas. Now thinking of it, it's because I was reading these textbooks that somehow had a completely useless bit of trivia for us here in California. So no, Texas, like when it comes to education, they don't mess around and like watch out.
And it's being inspired by this MAGA movement, which, you know, Cynthia was talking about it up here. It became so evident to me, and we're going to turn the corner here and get to Alexis Alaman here in a little bit. It became so evident to me recently that this is a propaganda war and that we're fighting propaganda. I would love for you, you're nodding in agreement. I would love for you to speak on that. Why do you think so? Why do you agree?
I mean, it's always been like, I don't think we're in unprecedented times. You have to pay attention to history. And look, people might say we are living in the worst times ever, especially for undocumented people. Look at all the community response. Let's go back to the 1950s when you had Operation Wetback. And literally the only people in the Latino community, The Latino community, the mainstream folks did not stand with undocumented folks. LULAC, all those civil rights groups, they're like, yeah, get those wetbacks out of here. This is absolutely true. The only people that stood with undocumented people were bona fide communists. I'm talking about card-carrying communists like Bert Corona in the 1950s, and we all know how popular communists were in the 1950s. So we are, and then you have, of course, a repatriation and all these terrible things. You all have to look at history. Those who forget the past are condemned to repeat it. George Santayana, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes, supposedly Mark Twain. But the more you know your history, the better equipped you are to fight for your present and for your future. Look, we're reporters. We're complete cynics. We see the worst in society, the absolute worst. Oh my God. And then like your family's here. At least I have my sister here, but usually my cousins never go or any of that stuff.
My cousins are here.
Well, not you. My cousins are grato. Thank you.
Oh yeah, that we have an Arellano in our family there too.
Maybe we're related. But I nevertheless always have hope. And you have to have hope. The two things that tyrannical societies want to remove more than anything from you is hope and humor, because that's what makes us human. The day we lose our hope and the day we lose our humor, we might as well just give up. And I refuse to lose my hope. And I'm not funny, but I'll laugh. I like to laugh.
My daughter told me a joke. I'll give it to you here. Why don't you give a balloon to Elsa?
Elsa's my sister's name. That's an absolute true story. Not that Elsa, but why won't you give a balloon to my sister?
She'll let it go.
Ah?
No, okay, no, all right. No, nothing. I got nothing. Okay, all right. Anyway, I thought that was good. For Ellis told me that. Okay, anyway, Gustavo Arellano, we are so grateful for your presence here. We want to get to Alexis Aleman. For those of you,
sorry, I got to do a plug, folks. I don't see enough of you with a drink in your hand, whether it's water, whether it's Coke, whether it's food. Support your local businesses. That is so important to do. Amen. If you do not buy something tonight, even a bottle of water, then Stephen Miller wins. You want that to happen? Exactly. Thank you. Bye.
Gustavo Arellano, man. Thank you. Oh, thank you, brother. Thank you so much. Oh, God. And we have so many. I just want to turn the camera around here to show everybody if we can. Can we do that? Oh, yeah. Razzo Dog is here. All right. We're going to wrap up the show here with our last guest. I thought I saw him in the crowd. Alexis Aleman is one half of Foods in Medicine, the popular social media account, Foods in Medicine, and we're going to be joined by him next. Yeah, come on down, man. What's going on, bro? Great to meet you in person, bro. Thank you for coming. All right. Give it up for Alexis Aleman here.
Hi, everyone. Good evening.
I really wanted to bring Alexis on, not only because of his popularity on social media, but because of his journey, being a first-generation college student, right? I mean, just tell me about your trajectory. You just finished medical school, and you have this wildly popular Instagram account, right? Yeah, heck yeah. You're applying for, journalism fellowship. Tell me about what life is for you right now.
Yeah, no, thanks for inviting me. First of all, Nick, and you're also very inspiring and motivating. I've been
God bless you, brother.
Years, so it's cool to be sitting next to you today. I mean, for those who might not know who I am, I'm currently a medical student at UCLA. And my boy Irvin just matched and finished medical school. I'm still, I have 1 year left. I'm currently doing a master's degree in social science at UCLA, and planning to apply into psychiatry next year for my medical specialty. And honestly, I mean, the journey's been interesting, to say the least. I think the most important thing for me is making sure that I get myself educated, making sure that I know what's going on around me, what the issues are, and obviously growing up first gen, son of immigrants. I understand a lot of the issues that we face and how that translates into the real world, into real living, because that's how I grew up. And so for me now, it's how can I do how can I use what we've created, what we've done to continue helping our communities.
There's so many things that are dynamic about you, but one of the things I see that is an intersection that I kind of see myself in you is that you're in rooms where I'm sure you're really freaking uncomfortable a lot of times, where you look to your left and you look to your right, and you may not see a lot of people that look like you. What's it been like being a 20-something-year-old in those rooms right now in this era where our community is being focused on and persecuted?
Yeah, well, it's challenging, and that's sort of been my career since the beginning, and it's more of a unconventional path for first gen students. We face a lot of different obstacles and challenges, and students that might have like studied for standardized exams since elementary school. I literally didn't even study for the SAT because I didn't understand the importance of an exam like that at that point. And so
your parents didn't go to college. How would you know? Same with my parents. I had no idea.
exactly. So exactly, all of us like first gen, second gen people, students understand a lot of these struggles, and for me, going into these spaces, I understand that, and so for me, it's more so realizing that I've gone through a lot of challenges and obstacles to get into those rooms, and there's nothing that I can't understand or comprehend that with other people in the room. And so, if anything, for me, the fact that I'm in that room with everything that I've gone through makes me feel special, and it makes me feel like I belong.
The frontline workers, the public health professionals, they have had to face these federal immigration agents. Have you thought about that? If this continues on, we've got another 3 years of the Trump presidency, you're probably going to be working in a residency, right? You'll probably be matched by the time.
Yes.
You may have to deal with this. Is that talked about in medical school right now? We see it reflected on like The Pit on HBO, right? ICE in hospitals. Is that talked about?
Not enough, not enough by any means. And that's the thing that, like you said, we see this, I see this, and it's really up to us to educate ourselves more on it and understand how this ultimately affects health, right? Because in medical school, yeah, we learn how to take care of people, and the medicines that we use and how to talk to a patient.
And it's do no harm. And in some cases, we're not seeing that right now.
But we never talk about, like real world issues happening in the moment and how that applies to our job. Matter of fact, like even health insurance stuff, and like we don't learn these sort of things in medical school. We just learn how to diagnose a patient, how to, check for what's wrong with them, and that's kind of it. And so we're left with a lot of questions of how even health insurance works and how politics and people, making certain decisions affect our job ultimately.
Sure. I mean, you may have to be confronted with this if you are in a hospital. We hope you don't, but it happened here at the UCLA Ronald Reagan Medical Center, right? A clip went viral. I reposted it on social media very early on, and we thought this was going to be the situation all across the country. We're seeing these agents in sensitive locations. Another reason why I wanted to have you on here is I know that you have had some direct impacts to this. Can you just talk about what it's like being 20-something years old, a Latino in Los Angeles, living in LA right now?
Well, it feels amazing. I'm blessed. I thank my mom all the time. I'm like, Mom, thank you for coming to LA.
Of all the places you could have gone.
Thank you so much for coming to LA because I love being from LA. I love being in Latino.
Amen, man. Amen. Give it up for that, man.
From South Central, everything, and just LA is beautiful. So, one, I'm happy. I'm excited. But more than anything, it makes me really realize the position that I'm in. Where I'm at, the opportunities that I really have. With the position that I put myself in, I've been super blessed to be in school in LA all of my life.
Yeah.
Really understand LA. I got a full ride scholarship to UCLA, so I stayed in LA.
Amazing.
And I'm just like really trying to use my knowledge as a kid who grew up in South Central in the inner city and is in these spaces, with people that are very educated and, with whose parents are doctors, whose parents are lawyers. And, for me, I see that as an opportunity for me to learn as much as I can, so that way I can not only use this for myself, but how can I use this to help my community and bring everyone and other Latinos up with me.
You're what an answer, right? Tell why this guy's got 200,000 followers or more. 300,000. Thank you, Beto. One of the things that I've noticed in my travels across the country is that younger, especially high school students, they really are sort of drawn towards President Trump. They find him funny. I was in the Central Valley in Delano, And I remember talking to football players who were picking grapes in the morning, playing football in the afternoon. I asked them what they thought of President Trump, and the response was, he's funny. But this is the guy who's leading the free world, right? This is not a comedian. What are the conversations like on college campuses right now? We know that they are, the more educated that you are, I think, the more that you read, the more progressive that you tend to be. But there are still, if we're being rigorously honest, something that is attractive among the youth here, what they see in President Trump. I would love for you to sort of tell me what your experiences have been and what the reality is as you see it.
Yeah, well, in terms of college campuses and what the vibes are there, I mean, obviously I can't really speak for, a lot of, other universities besides UCLA, because that's where I'm at. But just being at a UCLA, a big institution, with a diverse student body, people with a lot of different opinions. I've seen the divide that, an opinion on our president and the current administration has. I think that, obviously with media, I don't have to talk about how the way media portrays certain things and, which way certain media channels swing. But I think that's why it's super important for people like you, independent journalists, because a lot of times, for me at least, I don't know certain things. I wouldn't have known certain things if it wasn't for people like you to report on it.
Man.
Thank
you.
And that's
so
super
much.
important, right?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. And I see, the work you put in, being out there in the front line, man, risking your life and just, to make sure that we get this information. It's super commendable. It's admirable. And I think that, that's the information right there that we have to know, right? And unfortunately, I think there's a lot of work done to be on general media.
Yeah.
But that's why it's important for what you're doing. And with the kids that might have commented that, I mean, that's the thing, right? We might have to wonder, like, well, what is it that they saw, and what was it, a podcast episode, was it a TikTok, and what was the intention behind that, and do they actually really understand and are able to process what what the president is and what they're doing? Like you said, nowadays, like social media and media in general have really taken over a lot of everything, right? Like with attention and with what people look at, follow, right? And so it's nowadays media can be very curated, can have like goals that like are very different from when they're intended to be. And it's up to people like us to combat stuff like that.
Part of what I'm trying to do is meet the moment where people are. I'm trying to meet people literally, which is why we're broadcasting 9x16, right? I mean, people are here on their phones vertically. You have been so efficient and successful at leading that social media way, not just for your medical student peers, but like just your generation. You are such an effective communicator. How did you, what gave you, I mean, I don't even know where to start. Like, how did you build this? Why do you think you've been so successful? What has been the secret sauce?
Man, I wish I could tell you, Nick. We've been asked that a lot, and truthfully, I don't know myself. I don't know the answer to how we were able to create this community. All I know is that, I wanted to create something for someone like me, for younger me. That's who I had in mind. I had younger me in mind growing up in South Central and saying, well, if I freaking put this video out and a picture out with me in a white coat, and I saw that as a kid, that might have inspired me, motivated to do this. So maybe there is a kid out there like that will see me in a white coat, me and Irvin, a video of us at a top tier medical school on a full ride scholarship, and it might motivate them to maybe be a doctor, maybe be a lawyer, whatever, to believe, to, our goal is to normalize this. We want to normalize the fact that you can take advantage of the opportunities, go to college, go to medical school, go to law school. The thing is that a lot of our youth don't see that. And that's where the issue starts. And for us, we want to put that out. And for me, it was like, I want to see little Alexis see this. I wonder if he would be motivated. And we were able to create a community with this.
Yes. You are speaking truth, because I remember being 14 years old at Eagle Rock High School and going to the Chicano Youth Leadership Conference hosted by Sal Castro. Okay? Sal Castro led the 68 walkout here. I talk the way I talk and dress the way I dress because my parents my dad grew up on 51st and Western, and my mom grew up in downtown, and they wanted to Americanize the hell out of me so I could be in any single room that I wanted to be. But I realized very quickly that my proximity to whiteness ain't gonna save me, you know? And it didn't save me. I remember being at the Chicano Youth Leadership Conference and meeting for the first time a Latina who went to Yale. And I still remember, man, she was sitting down, crisscross applesauce, is what we say now, right? Because the other one's too offensive. So she was sitting down, and I remember her saying, I'm at Yale. Yeah. And I thought, oh my God, we can go to Yale? Right. And so I know that there's somebody that's seen you and said, we can be a doctor. Yeah, and that's cool.
Thank you. Yeah.
Tell me about, because I know that with the followers that you have, I know that you have a story of somebody that you have inspired.
Oh, man.
Not just one.
It's been so many that I can't even, like,
that's what this is about.
And this is why I continue to do this. You know, this is why I will continue to do this, because I have seen the impact that it has. And at first so I didn't have any social media through college, and that's probably why I got to med school. That's probably why I had no social media. I was never on Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, whatever, you know, everything that helped me lock in, I think, you know. And so when I started this with Irvin, who wasn't more familiar with social media, it was scary. It was super scary to say, okay, I'm gonna put myself out there. I'm gonna talk about myself, my story, my upbringing. Like, that feels very scary. I'm putting myself in a vulnerable position to have people just have opinions on us, right? Because that's going to happen. It's inevitable.
Oh my God.
It's on the media space. And so now that I've seen that I've had students come up to me and say, I didn't give up because of you guys, or I'm here because of you. Literally, like, I'm in dental school, or I'm in med school, I'm wherever, because you guys made me believe that I could do it. Man, there's no better feeling in the world, and I'm gonna try to continue to inspire and motivate and just normalize the fact that students can do whatever they want. And at this point, it's not even, yes, it's to diversify medicine, because it's only 6% of Latino physicians in the United States.
It's only 6%?
6%, which is.
Did you guys know that was so few? We're in the single digits in terms of being doctors in the country.
Exactly, right. It doesn't represent our general population at all. And so for us, it's to diversify everything. We're needed in every single space. Latinos produce a #1 GDP in the country. There's no reason why we shouldn't be #1 in everything else.
Amen, man. Amen. Yes. And dropping truth bombs. How old are you, bro?
Oh, man. I've been getting asked this a lot. How old do I look?
I would go with like 23.
You'd be nice.
No, for real. I would think 23.
I'm 29.
You're 29?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Do you feel like some people would say that, oh man, I'm getting a late start in college, but you're like grinding it out, man, and you're being an example.
Yeah, the whole timeline thing and the question of am I too old? Am I too young? It's a real one, and I get it. But like you said, I'm grinding, we're grinding. Yes. We're all going to be grinding no matter what. We have to choose what it is that grind's going to be. So that's why I tell people, you're going to be 25, you're going to be 21, you're going to be 35, you're going to be 40 no matter what. What are you going to do with those years? Yeah.
With a trauma streak.
I wish I have to look as good as you.
God willing. It's good lighting here. Sí se puede. That was Dolores Huertas, by the way, okay? We can still say sí se puede. Sí se puede for this guy right here.
And that's the mentality I have, sí se puede. And I'm just, I recognize that, I've always been on my own timeline. Even since leaving high school, I had no idea what I was going to get out of college. But I was willing to take that risk and believe that something was going to come out of it, and that even though I was living in South Central and I was going to have to drive and figure this whole thing out, like, something was going to come out of it, and I was going to take my time and ensure that whatever it was, I wanted to be successful in it. And sometimes it does take longer. Sometimes there is a longer path that we have to take. But to me, it's just made it that much more beautiful. Like, I love where I'm, I'm 29. I believe I'm about to hit 30. That's kind of crazy. But I'm excited. I'm happy. I feel great. I wouldn't want it any other way, where I'm at right now.
People need to hear that, because I knew somebody at 28 who thought that their life was over. They thought, why even start? I'm 28 years old. It's such a late. I'm a late bloomer, but this is another gem that you've given us, is that we're all on our own personal journey. We're all on our own,
100%.
right?
Yeah, exactly. And I get it, like the pressures of trying to get to the next stage in our lives, the pressure of going to college and graduating and then getting an internship, getting a job, getting into residency, getting the faculty position, then doing this. And then it's like, well, if we're always just stuck in that tunnel vision mindset, when are we taking time to take a step back and really realize the major issues that are going on in our country? We have to realize what we're working for, what we're working towards, and what position we're working for, because we have to think about how we're going to, I mean, at least for me, this is how I think about it. I have to think about how I'm going to help not only myself and my family, but my community. And so when I'm working for my next stage in the journey, is how am I going to use that stage to get to the next one and then the next one? Because I'm not trying to be complacent. I want to get to a point where I can actually make an impact in the community, and that means I have to ask real questions. I have to take a step back and ask myself questions. Where I'm going, what am I doing in the moment? And it's like, it's so easy to get stuck in that, okay, right now, well, I'm taking my board exam and then I have to take the next one and I have to apply to residency. And then I have to, after that, do a fellowship. And then after that, I have to get a job as an attending and then get a faculty. When I take a look and it's been 15, 20 years, okay, so now I'm never gonna sit down and, okay, now I can help my community. No, it has to happen actively. I have to do it as I'm going on in my journey.
Amen.
That's how I see it.
People can't wait around to help out. You need to step up and meet the moment. Amen. It has been such a pleasure to meet you in person, man. How do we, I have the one question I really wanted to ask you is that, I want to know that first day. Because I remember my first day that I launched this and took my phone out at 4 million views. Oh shit, I got something to say.
Yeah.
What was that like, that first day that you launched Foods and Medicine? And if you guys don't follow Foods and Medicine, please go check it out. It's amazing and inspiring, and everything that you've heard here, it's like times 10. What was that like, that first day? And how did that all go down?
It was silly. It was a joke. It was funny. So Irving convinced me, right? And okay, we were at Carne Asada actually. Maybe there were a couple modelos involved.
Okay.
And we were like, hey, bro, like everyone's telling us about this. Let's just do it. Let's just launch a page. I'm like, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, we're just joking. Like, because that's how it started. It started as a joke. Like, hey, food, medicine, And then our classmates started hearing it. Our Latino classmates, we started saying it and stuff. And then it's like, y'all should make that a page. I'm like, man, no way. So we talked about it in the Carne Asada. And he was like, let's call it Foods and Medicine, bro. Let's call it Foods and Medicine. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. Let's start it. And we had taken a picture, like, in our white coat ceremony, and we just posted that, like, Foods and Medicine. It just felt funny. It felt silly. But then, like, 100 people followed us. Like, what the heck? We just posted a picture with our white coats. Like, well, okay, whatever. And it was like, next thing you know, we're at 500. I'm like, what the heck? Okay, people commenting and stuff. I didn't think anything of it. So it was amazing. It's still surreal to me.
It is so surreal to see also, because it's like you not only have a popular page with numbers, you have an engaged and continuously engaged community.
I love our community.
Yes.
So there's definitely days where I have to just sit there and look at positive comments. I'm just like, man, this shit sucks.
One of the things I like, it's hard to put yourself out there too, because people are watching. It's like people counting your sobriety days, right? Is he going to match? Is he going to, where's he going to go next? And like, what if I fail this exam, right? I mean, that's got to be, yeah.
Not gonna lie, yes, the pressure is there. I mean, obviously not let myself down, but to me, it's like, I can't let my community down now. Like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, when it's like, when I'm grinding in those hours and it's like, I've studied for 10 hours, my brain is fried. I'm like, I gotta do this shit again tomorrow. I go on my comments and I'm like, all right, I can't let them down. Let's do this. Boom. Let's go to sleep.
Ponte pilas, way.
Yeah, exactly. So it's beautiful. I love our community.
I'm gonna wrap it up just by how I've finished everything else here. Is there anything that I haven't asked you to know that, is there anything I haven't asked you that's important to know, or anything that you'd like to talk about? Now's your chance.
Well, first, thank you for what you do, and thank you. I'm going to continue to always support what you're doing, because it's important to have people like you.
Thank you so much.
Giving us real, raw information, things that are going on in the world. I think for me, it's definitely cool meeting people like you, getting into these spaces, and really, for me, realizing, what having a voice can do for our community. I just want to like state the obvious that's in front of me. You know, I'm not, trying to get too much into politics and trying to like, get into engage in discussion and dialogue and freaking arguments with people. But end of the day, I made an oath to take care of anyone, take care of people, make sure people are healthy and safe. And if there's health concerns with things like ICE freaking killing people and ICE detention centers not providing adequate medical care, I think it's okay for me to speak on that as an aspiring health professional. And that's an example there. But I'm gonna just speak on what I see.
Keep speaking, man. Alexis Aleman, Booze and Medicine. Thank you so much. Give you a hug, dog.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for that. That was cool.
It's awesome, dog. Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah. We're gonna start wrapping up the show. Now, I just want to tell you a quick anecdote on that with Alexis. I was recently in Camp East Montana, and this is one of the largest, or is the largest detention center in the country. And to the point that Alexis is making about a lack of basic medical care, I went in as an interpreter on the invitation of an immigration attorney who I was there with. And I did not misidentify myself. I was very clear about who I was. I'm a reporter. I'm going to come out and talk about what I saw in there. And what I was told by those that were detained, by a woman specifically who I interpreted for, translated, they were dealing with a rash, a fungal rash, that it was so painful and so itchy that it had spread from their feet to their genitals. And there was one woman in their area. She was under a cobija, she was feverish, and they were just giving her a salve, an ointment to rub on this rash. I came out, I reported what I saw, I went on the local news there in El Paso. What happened and what resulted was the El Paso County Health Department saw that, and they went into Camp East Montana, and that rash that they had been dealing with for 4 months was a measles outbreak. This is the types of conditions that other human beings in this country that are with us here, that are being currently held in. They're being told by these doctors who have taken an oath to do no harm, that they will get their basic medical care met if they just self-deport and go back to the countries from which they came. Okay? There are people who still, even though they have voluntarily chosen deportation, are still in custody and can't get home. The longest person that I've heard held is 18 months. And I am well aware that that goes back to the Biden administration. This is a bipartisan problem, and we are here to call it out. The only way that we continue to go forward and move forward and speak truth to power, when there's a lot of powerful people not afraid of peddling mistruths and peddling fear, I don't want to be afraid of speaking the truth. And so this platform gives me that. And the only way that we keep going is through your support. Continue to help donate, subscribe to our Substack, and just help us stay in this space so we can continue to have conversations like this. Thank you so much to Barney Santos, the owner here of BLVD Market. Thank you so much to all of you. I think it's a good time I can pick this up here. Let me show the crowd. There we go. You can see the crowd there. Oh man, it was so cool. It was so cool. Thank you guys. I'm Nick Valencia, host of Nick Valencia Live, and this is a live show here that you're watching from the BLVD Market in Montebello. As always, guys, thank you so much for helping us make truth go viral, and have a great day on purpose. Otra! Oh, I can see you guys now. Oh my God, there we go. Thanks, Nat. Oh, give it up for Nat. She's helping coordinate the show. Give it up for Nat. Okay, and so we go here. Where is the stream at? Did you end it?
It's
Okay,
it was
okay.
still live, but
Okay,
I don't
enter
know.
studio. We're gonna enter this, and then we're just gonna shut it down here. We enter studio, and then end stream.